Hi, my name is Kimberly Allen, and I am the founder of Girlfriends. I'm so excited that you tuned in today. The name of my organization is Girlfriends. It started with me having an innate desire to connect with other women. I've spent about 5 to 10 years learning more about women, learning about our dynamic, learning about why we do what we do. And after researching hundreds of women, I came to the conclusion that we really are more alike than different. So my goal is, I love to write, I love to interview, just to find and to interview women from all walks of life, because once I started talking to women, I found out that we have so much more in common than what we think, and we allow our differences to divide us. So my goal in my heart is to bring women together in society, that we will learn our place, and to also to identify those things that separate us as well. You can find my website at www.mygirlfriends.org. I am a writer by nature. I have blogs as well as vlogs on there as well. So I'm going to get started, guys. I love to tell about my personal stories and how I overcome what I've overcome. And I want you guys to invite your friends and invite people that you know, and to share the video if this is something that bears witness with you. I have a really special guest with me today. This beautiful lady that you see next to us, she is my actual biological sister. She is one of my oldest sisters. My mom and dad has 5 children together. I am the 4th and she is the 2nd. Chris, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Crystal. Like she said, I am the 2nd. So hello.
Hey, everybody say hi to Crystal. So we are excited because I feel like Crystal and I have reached a pivotal point in our life about how many years ago?
Would you say that was probably maybe about 6 or 7 years ago?
Yep, it had to have been about 6 years ago, because Maya was a baby around that time. About 5 to 6 years ago, we reached a turning point in our life where we really had, both of us, I think collectively, had the desire to learn how to do life together. You would be surprised. That's why I wanted you to invite your sisters, because Crystal and I, we are like any other sister. Yeah. I don't think that there's anything that makes us different, and I want you to feel comfortable with inviting your sisters in, because I really feel like that we're going to get to a place where where the family relationship is being restored. And Crystal and I really feel like that it starts with us. Like, we really do carry that burden that it starts with us, and we're going to talk about it. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? How you want to do it?
Well, I can start. I can say the starting point for us is when we realized that there was an issue. I think a lot of sisters and a lot of siblings kind of neglect that there is an issue, but we really realized that there was an issue when we went to the Bahamas.
Ministry trip.
This was a ministry trip. So you guys imagine how it was to discover an issue in the middle of a ministry trip.
Serving.
So we were serving, we were on a ministry trip, and that's when everything began to unravel.
Yep. So we're going to talk about it. So I remember us having, I think that there was a conversation that we were in. And I remember around the time, for me, with being one of the youngest of 4 girls, my mom has 4 girls and 1 boy. I am the 4th girl, meaning I'm the youngest girl, and then I have a younger brother that's under me. I know with me, first of all, I want to talk about, people would really think that, oh, it's your sister, you grew up with her, you know everything about her, it should be easy to get along. But it's not. And I first want to identify what the issue was in me. For me, with Crystal, I allowed familiarity to get in the way of me really learning who she was as an individual and as an adult. Because it's different when you are walking with each other when you're children. I felt like I know her, so I can easily say how she feels or what she thinking, her motive behind what she said to me. And I was absolutely wrong. And it really took us to continue to bump on our head time and time and time again. And we still have our differences today. But I think that right now we've learned how to deal with it better. So I think that there was a conversation that came up.
Yeah, and I think for me, I learned that with you, I always thought like, oh, well, she's not like me, so maybe, something's wrong with her because she's not like me. And so that was my reasoning, and that was my excuse for us not really having a good relationship, because she was so much not like me. which was not a good base place because we want to be the same. You know, everybody is different. God created us all different, unique, just the way he wanted us to be. And so I had to realize that, hey, she's not like me, and that's okay. And so that's where we began. That's where our work started from, our foundation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, and I actually felt the same way she felt, but I didn't have knowledge to it. So we went to the Bahamas, we had a disagreement, met with our leaders, and I know y'all probably like, all of Kim fallouts is around leadership. And I'm glad.
But that's good. It's a safe place.
Yep.
Sorry.
And because, nope, you're fine. Because we had that accountability too. So we fell out. I totally misunderstood, misinterpreted what she said. And I was looking at it through my wounds and my position in our household. And I didn't give myself time to step outside of what I thought I knew about my sister. Because one thing I can say about my sister, she's one of the oldest of 5 children. So she's had to make a lot of sacrifices. And I think that she's made sacrifices in our family beyond her years. And I would say that because I remember growing up and my mom had to work, and my oldest sister, she was doing her thing. She was more of like a party sister, but my sister was found cooking for us. And I think I learned her out of those habits, but I didn't know that she did what she had to do, and she did what she was supposed to do. Like, she helped my mom out. She filled the gap when my dad wasn't there. So I took upon that knowledge and getting familiar with her as a kid, and I didn't get a chance to know her as an adult outside of our parents' house, because little did you know that when you're inside of your parents' house, you're shaped by them. You know, you go through similar experiences, but when you become an adult and you leave your parents' house, then you become your own. You stand out on your own. You begin to develop and mature. And I didn't give my sister room to develop, to mature, to find herself. You know, I didn't know what seasons that she was in her life. And I dealt with her like she was the same person that we were growing up. And I think, you know, that was a turning point for me. Like, the Lord, I began to pray for my sister, and the Lord, I began to have the desires to not see you the way I saw you when we were growing up. God began to tell me, you're familiar with her. And you keep thinking that she's the same girl that's cooking for you guys. You're thinking that she's the same girl that had to make all those sacrifices. And I've gotten to know her more so as almost like a mother figure, because I remember her being the oldest, and she used to do those things because she had to, and because she was helping out my mom. And I, as an adult, she was not that girl anymore, living in her own, having a spouse, having children. She wasn't the girl anymore that was telling us to get in the tub or watching us while my mom was at work. I had to learn who she was on her own, and who she was as an adult and outside of our family life and outside of our growing up. So I want to say to any of you sisters, I want you to encourage you to break the familiarity off of each other by thinking you know it all, measuring them and defining them about how we grew up together, and not giving her space to evolve and to figure out who she was. I dealt with her like line up on line. I didn't give her room to grow. So I'm telling you to learn by by what I experienced, and give them room to grow, and almost wipe the slate clean as if you know nothing about them, and sit back and learn them as an adult.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that I learned during that time was a measure of grace that I didn't have. I think we don't have grace for one another. We don't have grace for relationships. We don't have grace for difference. And we definitely don't have grace for siblings. And so during that time and during that process, God just really began to speak to my heart about his grace, his love. And the grace wasn't because she did something wrong, but the grace was because I created her this way. And so you need to come into line with how I created her. And there needs to be a patience in understanding one another, and understanding your growth process and my growth process. And so I just really learned God's grace through that moment. And I learned that it's okay to be different. It's okay to experience different things. Me and Kim grew up in the same home, but it's like went totally 2 different ways. And so when you have a sister, multiple sisters, and everybody life goes multiple ways, it's different. You treat them according to sometimes the way they life end up. And so for me, I felt like, oh, Kim was always the strong one. Kim was the one that was really goal oriented. Kim was the one that was the go getter. And so I kind of felt like she just really didn't have a lot of feelings. Like, oh, she's really strong, she don't have any feelings, so I can tell her to buzz off and it'll be okay. Like, leave me alone. You're the little sister. Just leave me alone, because that's how I seen her. And like Kim said, when we're in the house with our parents, we're raised and we're molded the way they teach us and the way they show us. And whether we know it or not, when we grow up, some of those things come out. Some of those things are evident that, that maybe we still see each other the same way. And so when God just really dealt with my heart about having grace towards you and having grace towards understanding you and learning how to communicate with you and learning how to accept you being strong and learning how to accept you being witty, and the go-getter. One thing you guys might not know about my sister Kim is the first to do a lot of things amongst the sisters, and I really honor her for that, and I appreciate her for that. And so just having that in my mind and coming into the conclusion that, okay, this is my little sister and I need to be a little more graceful and a little more calm and polite, because I can get a little mean sometimes, a little more calm and polite and accept her difference, really brought back a change in both of us. So it's really powerful to see the way God worked with both of us in a different way. He really dealt with me with grace, and then Kim talked about her process. And we have to allow God to work with us in those different ways and allow God to move the way he wants us to move, so that we can mend relationships and build new relationships. Now, I'm not saying to be in a relationship with anyone that's abusive towards you, people that's doing things that's not logical to you. Those type of relationships you really need to take some time out to see God about. But with me and Kim, I just really felt like the enemy know the power of unity, and he knows what it meant for us to come together and to be one in our sisterhood, because we, like I said, Kim did a lot of things first, and I admire her for that. And it's like I can come under her, even as the big sister. And you have to learn how to come under, even if you're the big sister, the little sister, it doesn't matter. So it's just about that unity and allowing God to deal with you where you are.
That's so good, Crystal. One of the things that almost made me cry and brought me to tears, and I really don't care crying on here because I want you guys to see real life, is the fact that you said, oh my gosh, that's so good. You said that she viewed me to be so strong, and she forgot that I have weaknesses too, and that she forgot that things hurt my feelings too. And I think that that's really good. Like, she's like, Kim, she's strong, she can push through a lot, but I love the fact that she realized it, like, dang, stuff hurt her feelings too. And like, dang, she's human too. And I want to talk more so to the sisters or the women out there that have more of the tough exterior. And for me, I don't think, I guess this is the way my sisters view me. I didn't think that I really had like a real tough exterior like that. I thought that, I have a tender heart.
You do. Your heart is very tender. And her heart is so tender and her heart is so pliable, but she's strong. And so sometimes that comes off as, not tender, but it is. Her heart is very tender. It's like you can see she's very sensitive. But she's very strong together. So
that's really good. So for us, I think that what we're saying is to give your siblings and your sisters, whatever it is, your sister, your girlfriend, your best friend, your sister in Christ, give them grace to really learn who they are and to understand what seasons they're in. So, and even for like my sister, with me being young, and I know she feel like I've experienced a lot first, but she's experienced a lot of life first. Because, and I would say, because for me, I was really sheltered.
Yeah, Kim was speaking in tongues coming out the womb, and I wasn't speaking in tongues. Kim was casting out devils at 2.
I was sheltered. And were you sheltered?
You know what? I think my mom tried to shelter me, and I wasn't like really a wild child, but I did what I wanted to do. And so when it was time for me to do what I wanted to do, that's what I did. Kim was more, God-based. She really accepted the things that my mom was teaching us. Me, I listened, but I didn't,
Yeah, so with me being sheltered, I did not understand that my sister had went through life. Like, I remember the time where I was in college and I came back to Chicago, and I didn't really know how to respond to my sister because she had been through a lot of life situations, and I was protected on campus in a college, and I didn't experience a lot of real world stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to respond to her and what season that she was in. And I want to tell you guys that every advice is not always applicable or effective for every season that you're in, or every time in life that you're in. So for me, I thought that everything, was pretty black and white, and that, we can pretty much pick up with where we had started. And I was wrong, because when I came back, she had a third child, and when she moved back, and she was married and she lived with her husband, and I was like, dang, this is not like big sister, da da da. And that's probably why I'm in sister mode when we're together. Like when we did our Vegas trip, I'm like, oh, you gonna buy me this?
Yeah, and that was the best trip, because I feel like that was the most sober we've ever been in our relationship.
Yeah.
And just to have that time with her without being judgmental, without being critical, or without thinking thoughts about her was just so refreshing and just so overwhelming. And so I just really feel like our process started over lunch. Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, where do we start? Where do we start? I don't know how to build a relationship with my sister. I don't know what to do. Start with lunch. Take her out to eat. Go somewhere. We spent a lot of times in Panera Bread.
We did.
Talking about the things that I felt and things that she felt. And we were okay with accepting the way each other feel. A lot of times we defend our feelings, and it keeps us closed off from one another, and we don't really understand each other. And so we spent a lot of time being honest with one another. That's a lot of things people don't do, I think, in relationships. It's number one, just to tell the truth. I mean, tell that person how you feel without being afraid that that person is going to say, what? No, you're wrong. You have to allow that person to feel, and you have to allow them to express how they feel. And that's where the healing comes in at. And so we just spent a lot of time in Panera Bread discussing
You remember one of the first ones? I was like, oh Lord, here we come. And I kind of I think I came with my heart a little guarded, like, you know what? This may not work. But I want to tell you that when you go into having conversations with your siblings, your sisters in Christ, your friends, you have to realize that both of you guys are in different places in your life. So for me, what really helped, the real breakthrough that I got from my sister, is when I spent time praying for her.
Wow.
And when I started praying for Crystal, the life that she had experienced that we were talking about before, the process that she was currently in, the Lord gave me a view of what her world was, although I'd never experienced it before. Like some of the things that she had walked through, I had never walked through, y'all. So I could not understand from a place of empathy. But what the Lord did was he turned my judgmental heart towards my sister into grace, into sympathy, and some of it into empathy, because I had not lived the life that she had lived.